Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be beginning the narration and character voice acting for the Path of Life story. Alright, our third big entry into the Abyssal Hunters storyline is here, and we are finally going to an Aegirian city. And I mean, just look at the background of this menu and look at that beautiful city there in the background. That is something crazy. And as you're gonna see once we start diving, pun intended, into this story, they do talk about some stuff very casually that is like, huh, you just have this available? Interesting. Yeah, these people are definitely on another level of technological advancement. But more on that in a bit. Before we begin, as always, the very question here at the beginning that I ask on pretty much every single one of the new stories that gets added, is: do you need to know anything, especially if you're a new Arknights player and haven't had the experience yet to play through all their side stories? Do you need to know anything before going into this one? And the simplest of answers here is, once again, yes. This is, like I just said earlier as well, this is the third story in the Abyssal Hunter, Aegir and Iberia storylines, and there is a lot of stuff that comes up immediately as well at the beginning with characters, returning characters, and I mean, one of the very first characters you meet is sorry, Skadi as well, so, you know, having to know the involvement of these characters is kinda important. I would recommend going through the old stories, at least through Arknights and Stultifera, to know what is happening here, because, again, a lot of the characters from those stories will just be carrying over, plus the plotline build up for everything. You know the shtick. You can listen to this if you want to, but if you're confused, as always, in the description of this very video you will find several playlists. I will split them into two categories. One category will be covering side stories, the connected ones that I just mentioned, Arknights and Stultifera, and the other one a couple of bonus materials. But all in order, just for the newer players, to do a quick little introduction here. When it comes to stuff, you pretty much have it all in game, if you want to play through it and read through it yourself. But so, like I said, when it comes to these side stories that are building up this towards Path of Life where we are right now, you begin at Arknights. The first side story, Skadi going to Iberia, to a coastal town to find Specter, who was taken there by Gladiia, and the plotline that involves that, the Seaborn, and what is happening. What I'll say about the story is, if you are in any kind of regard a Lovecraft enjoyer when it comes to, you know, the Cthulhu mythos and that kind of creepy nonsense, like I am, then this story is for you. Literally for you, mate. The creepy factor of the city and the like energy and feeling that lingers in the citizens and what is happening, good, just good. There is an unhinged feeling in there that is just perfect for that. And yeah, that is your first beginning with this journey. The next journey is Stultifera Navis, or rather the next stop. Now, two things about this before I begin. A thing that I will never shut my mouth about the story has nothing to do with how good the story is, but we'll get to that in a second. The other one is that if you're gonna play this yourself, go slow. Go freaking slow. I don't mean it even as a joke. Every single one of these extra nodes, like this one for example, has lore on it. You will only see a lot of it for the first time when you open the node. And a lot of it, sadly, and this is point number 2, is something that is inaccessible anymore in the game, which aggravates me a tiny bit. This entire event is 60% story, which is Stultifera's story, aka the regular nodes, and 40% of it is literally world building and history building for the world. Through the journey of a certain Aegirian person who came to Iberia in an exodus by the name of Breogan, and you learn his story and the people who came with him through a lot of journal entries. Through a lot of them. None of them exist. None of them exist in-game anymore. If you want to see them, you have two options. Number one is my video in the description below, or rather the playlist in the description below, where I go literally step by step of everything is opening up on the journey, and go back into the menu, read all of the entries so you get everything. The other one, you have to go through wiki pages. There is literally nothing else. You have to scour wiki pages if you want to get every single node yourself and see all the extra lore entries, because you won't see it here. You won't see this picture right here, for example, has more text if you go into the journal bag, into the like collection bag. Doesn't exist here anymore in the game, and it doesn't exist because a whole menu is missing that is only available with the rerun or when the event is live. Hypergriff, what the hell? Why is this not here? But yeah, good story, enjoy. Lots of characters, and a lot of characters specifically from Stultifera will make reappearances in, well, in our current Path of Life story. Now, this is it for the big stories, the big three, Path of Life being the third one. Now, what else is connected to this? Well, a small little story that was introduced as the first side story in the game, Grani and the Knight's Treasures. Now, you don't need to go through this one if you don't want to, but all I'm gonna say is this very first story that came with Skadi as a playable unit as well, this is where the whole Abyssal Hunters storyline begins, essentially. It's crazy. The item that Skadi is looking for in this whole story will not come into play until Stultifera. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you're blind to this, the item that she finds here will not come into play until Stultifera. It's ridiculous how long some plotlines keep hanging, and some are still. But yeah, this is technically the beginning. Now, another thing I would like to just point out, and it might come in handy as well, because as I've seen, there is currently, I think it's currently live in the Chinese client, the Thorn's Altar side story, no idea what the name is, doesn't matter right now. In Heart of Surging Flame, a year later, when this thing came on a rerun, there was a cutscene added here, OFST6. This was not part of the original run of the thing, and this is a cutscene that is Thorns only, pretty much. And it builds up Aegir stuff and foreshadows a lot of things, but it's a very long cutscene. Compared to every single thing other in this event, this is like a 30-40 minute cutscene. It's ridiculous. But this was added a year later, and it's pretty much building up a couple of things for the later stuff that comes in Undertides, Stultifera, and stuff like that. It's pretty much a little tease to everything. The third thing I would like to point out, and I can't show you through here because the third thing I'm gonna point out is the members of the in-game band Aus, Alive Until Sunset. The 4 girls that are part of the band, essentially, that travel around Terra and do music and stuff. They appear in a bunch of stories, interact with Kal'tsit, do a lot of lore stuff, and they have a very strong connection to the whole sea, Iberia and stuff through something that I'm not gonna spoil because I'm not sure if you know about it or not. But that does get revealed in Stultifera Navis, where they do play a certain role, and you get lore on them, and it's crazy. It's quite interesting. Now, another thing I will, however, point out is over here in this menu. Here we have Mizuki and Karula Arbor. Now, why is this important? I know some people probably know about the story even if they didn't play, or at this mode, even if they didn't play it. They know it probably by people saying, this is a what if, you shouldn't really care about it, maybe. I don't know what people actually say, but I always imagine people saying something like that. But even if all the timelines presented here, outside of ending number 1 and a couple of other smaller kernels of stories in there, are canonical, every other ending, like ending 2, ending 3, ending 4, are alternative timelines of events. They still play a role in everything, and that is to build up the world, build up the lore to the Seaborn, and especially to Karula Arbor, a thing that got actually pretty much revealed what it is and what the connection of that laboratory to the Doctor is. Plus, in the recent Babel story, the Doctor did try to look up information or try to connect back to Karula Arbor in that story to see what is happening, to get data from it, but didn't get a response back. In here you can see why that is, and in the description of the video I will be linking several playlists that are both for the endings and for the different character monthly stories that were added in this mode. And just keep in mind, I will be mentioning it throughout all of those, which are canonical, which are not canonical. But enjoy the journey and get some tissues. No, not for that, you perv. Get some tissues, a pillow, hug it tight, and just remember, Mizuki is the Giga Chad, and Mizuki is the absolute GOAT. That's all you need to know. But yeah, anyway, that is for the big stuff that is connected. Everything else that I could mention here are operator records that are from like Gladiia, Skadi, Specter, Specter Alter, yada yada. There's a ton of them. You can find them here on the channel. You can find them in-game if you have the units. They just need to be promoted for it. And just look them up. If you don't have the units and want to see the operator records, they are literally all on the channel here. Just put the name of the unit in and you will see a pop-up video for those characters. But yeah, anyway, with that all said, that has been quite the roundup. Let's begin. So then, today we'll be covering the story on obviously the introductory cutscene all the way to stage number 2. So then, let's begin. BPST-1 Tide Watcher. People dreamt wild dreams about the cities beneath the waves before they saw one with their own eyes.
A hunter is walking on seacoast's way. With homeland left a mile behind, his path lies ahead. From his forebears and children he was torn. Into the seas his lover was swept away, floating in the deep, dead. A hunter is walking on seacoast's way. With homeland left a mile behind, they must lament and pray. There is no end to his path. The road ahead is shrouded in grey. A hunter returns by seacoast's way. His journey ended, his home close at hand. Sound of waves passed above the spray. Why do his feet disobey his command? Why ever does his heart still sway?
Long time no see, Skadi.
Been a while, Doctor. You were supposed to meet that chatty Liberi, but you don't seem surprised to see me.
You and Elysium are both roads operators, and this is a lot closer to your homeland after all.
True. You're an hour later than Kal'tsit estimated. I guess the Inquisition's review process is strict, even with an official notice from a saint. After only 3 months, nearly all the town's residents have moved inland, aside from a few workers, replaced by lots of people from the penal battalion.
They must be preparing for something. They look pretty tense.
Aegir contacted Iberia a week ago. This forgotten town has become a lot less quiet since. Being surrounded by sea scum already sets the young soldiers on edge. Hearing Aegir's voice only made it worse.
It demands a response, maybe caution. When the Undersea Nation finally speaks, you have to listen.
Turn left at the sculpture, and the sea is quick 10-minute walk. We'll head straight to the Eye of Iberia. Say, Doctor, do you hear the sound of the waves?
Skadi turns her head slightly into the sea breeze. Her hair dances in the wind, the same color as the shadows under her eyes.
Their layering has gotten complex. I hear the sound of stars drifting across the sky, the never-ending song of nature, and a language forever incomprehensible.
Isharmla. I'm here. The hardship we suffer is ever present. The life we thirst for is ever present. Are you alright, Skadi? Did reconnecting with home put you on edge?
It's like I get more nervous the closer I am. Never mind. It's hard to explain. Maybe I'm sleep deprived. Ever since our last voyage, I feel like I've inherited Shark's nightmares. Speaking of the sea, why did Dr. Kal'tsit call you over so urgently? I don't remember you having anything to do with the ocean.
I wouldn't recall even if I did, but it doesn't feel unfamiliar at least.
Not much of an answer. Right, I forgot about your condition. No wonder you gave such an answer. Oh well, I'm sure she had her reasons. Let's go. It'll be dark soon.
I would take a step back if I were you. I need to shake myself dry.
Hey there, Dr. Kal'tsit. Not many people can track us Abyssal Hunters. Did Swordfish tell you we'd be coming ashore here in advance?
Elysium deployed a data collector in these waters. It's had a direct connection to the Eye of Iberia's central control system ever since its calibration.
And can already track underwater targets. That Liberia's not half bad.
Am I to understand, then, that Rhode Island and the Inquisition have deepened their ties? 1 week ago, the undersea city contacted Iberia via special comms frequency, informing them that Aegir would be establishing a waterway between the Aegir home territories and dry land. In the face of such a grand project, Iberia could only gather intelligence through the Great Lighthouse's positioning system. Evidently, your position as Chief Designer of Warfare did not afford you any knowledge of this. Tell Kal'tsit what we discovered, Shark.
The captain and I have swum out to where the Stultifera sank 3 times now. Our last dive was only 10 days ago. The first time we could still see the exploded wreckage on the seafloor. Under what little light filtered through from the surface, the gilded interior was more like a smudge of paint. But this time around, the entire thing had completely disappeared, replaced by a cluster of coral, thrumming with life. I may be accustomed to dreaming, but that felt unreal, even to me.
That monument to a lost civilization and its history stood for but a brief time. The Stultifera Navis has been completely claimed by the sea. Or to be precise, it's become part of a Seaborn nest. Their environmental assimilation is accelerating at a frightening pace. But there was something even more noteworthy. We found traces of battle, recent ones. A complete barren patch of sea, lacking even marine snow, a warped and shattered stretch of seafloor, clearly pockmarked by micro-singularities. Only the fleets of Aegir's legions could be behind that. As a landwalker, Kal'tsit, the knowledge of and interest you hold towards Aegir are nothing less than extraordinary. Though separated by the boundless seas, Aegir has always been a part of Terra.
Regardless, Gladiia and I have decided to head to that city.
A risky decision, no doubt.
Perhaps a tad.
Considerably. As such, we hunters have been observing it for a while. Before our final operation, I attended the military conference between the Academy of Science and the Academy of Technology as the Abyssal Hunters' chief designer of warfare. Among the battle plans they drew up together, I do not recall anyone calling for a military stronghold to approach dry land with, nor any project involving waterways. Aegir has, without a doubt, undergone great changes. Our contact with the home territories was completely severed after we slew Isharmla. It is difficult to determine the truth of the matter from the information we possess.
Yet still hardly reason enough for you to return to Aegir. I don't believe I'm the first to try to dissuade you either. Didn't your colleague already do so? Do you mean Ulpianus? He would understand that the land holds no answers for us. We must return to the sea. If his strategy is to maintain a distance from Aegir, then all the more reason for us to return in an official capacity. Ever since I awoke from my dream, the waves would tell me time and again that the lost should return home. The Abyssal Hunters must return. Very well, I understand. Then I'll go with you, Gladiia. That would indeed be a rare opportunity for you. I will be representing more than myself on this visit, more than Rhode Island even. Iberia as well. Even with all that you already bear, they would give you another burden. It was also my decision. Rhode Island's cooperation with the Iberian Inquisition has only just begun, much like our own.
Kal'tsit stares at Gladiia. The hunter's face remains devoid of expression. Even the blowing sea wind failed to crease it. After a short moment of silence, Gladiia nods her head. How many days has it been since we were contacted by Aegir, Irene?
8, Su Santidad. And outside of the necessary deployments, meetings, and to rest, you've spent those 8 days here, watching the sea. They haven't given us a concrete time frame for the next contact. I understand you don't wish to miss the next move, but...
Look at the sea before you, Irene. The colors of the deep sea bubble up, nearly indistinguishable from one another. Against the vastness of the ocean's surface, the sky seems gloomy. The water crashes against the reef, whipping up waves several meters tall, their roars dashing against this small corner of the land. By Iberian standards, an ocean without a hint of sea terror flesh is a gentle one, no matter how noisy it may be. An old friend of mine was once the most talented bard of the port, but after that grand port sank into silence, he fled north, past the starving masses to the Iberian interior, to the small town that would one day become the capital. I saw him kneeling by the broken town gates, weeping uncontrollably. From his weeping, the town obtained its new name, Perdonidora. Forgiveness has left us. However, what people needed at the time was not mourning, but consolation. Many prefer to use the shortened form, Perdoni, forgiveness. And now the last eye of Iberia, the final legacy of the Golden Age, shines bright once more. What do you think that signals, Irene?
Hope and determination.
Hope and determination. Of course. Oh, youth. The determination in your eyes is brighter than Darius when he was your age. Good, good. But those words, as inspiring as they are often not the fully correct answer. After half a century of being pushed back, our front is finally advancing. Soon, this will become the new center of the Inquisition. But at the same time, we must necessarily bear everything to the ocean, to Seaborn and Aegir alike. Iberia is stretched thin. This country can no longer hide its exhaustion and sickness. It is a simple fact, plain for all to see. And there is another fact to consider. We can retreat no further. Maestro, it's been a while, Donna Irene.
Indeed, it has. Those clothes suit you.
Thank you. Right, there's been an emergency. The lighthouse just picked up signals of unknown origin. They seem to be coming from not the sea, but the sky.
Jordi, I think we can already see them.
Carmen and Irene are fixated on the distant sky. The young clerk follows suit. He freezes on the spot. They see a school of fins soaring through the sky. What are they?
Bionic drones. The islanders brought similar creations to land all those years ago.
The matrix of drones crosses the sea in the blink of an eye, matching the height of the towering lighthouse. One separates itself from the formation and slowly hovers before the three. Its wings open and close like fins, like a speck of light dancing in the void, and soon after an amiable and charismatic female voice resounds from it. She speaks in Iberian.
People of Iberia, do not be alarmed. Aegir greets you. I am Clementia, a technology council of our Institute of Societal and Administrative Supervision.
Carmen holds his lantern aloft, looking serenely at the drone before him. Two completely different forms of light face each other, as though in a dialogue between two different civilizations, or a confrontation.
Saint Carmen, first, Iberia, of the Iberian Inquisition. I believe this is our first official communication between our nations.
Indeed.
You speak our tongue as well as any Iberian.
I installed an Iberian language module before leaving the home territories. I hope you'll forgive me if I ever use the wrong expression. Moreover, forgive me for having to contact you in this form, Sir, Iberia.
We have no objections to your appearance, Madam Counsel. I only regret that it has taken us so long to begin this conversation. Despite your so-called Waterway Project being more than half complete and close at hand, we Iberians find ourselves in complete ignorance of it.
To make amends, we'd like to invite your envoys to visit our city. Ægir respects the efforts Iberia has made when you were caught up in the Seaborn crisis.
Caught up in? Do you mean to say that everything Iberia has faced was merely the aftermath of your crisis?
I do. Let's not be tied down by formalities, sir. We recognize the power of language. Your name itself, Carmen, First of Iberia, is a symbol of courage and valor. This is why we came to you. We hope that by reaching an accord with Iberia and the other terrestrial nations, we will be able to create a waterway that links directly to land. We will clear the stretch of sea between Aegir's home territories and the land, so as to facilitate our forces coming ashore.
I hope I need not remind you what sending an army to another nation's border implies on land.
Given the enormity of the oncoming threat, we will exhaust every means at our disposal to resist it. I am more than willing to come explain to you in person if necessary, but it would be easier for you to understand the situation if you were to join us in the depths. The fleets of our legions, 8th and 10th, are patrolling and suppressing the Seaborn in these waters. They will soon escort you to our city of Milliarium. This drone formation will continue to notify you of any nearby combat or environmental changes until you have safely arrived at the city. There may be an unprecedented disaster brewing beneath the waves. Sir Inquisitor, I worry that though the Earth is vast, it is but an isolated island.
The lights of the drone matrix cut out, putting a stop to their sudden communication. The sea breeze continues to blow as the old man slowly lowers his lantern.
a waterway that links directly to land. She's eloquent, but
arrogant, no doubt. A haughty adult wielding a weapon, loath to use finesse when dealing with an unarmed child. Irene, inform our cooperation partners of this most recent communication. Kal'tsit has already agreed to serve as Iberia's envoy. The Abyssal Hunters should also have made their decision by now, considering they've always had reservations about the Waterway program.
right away. I'll also keep the other Inquisitors in Grand Faro abreast of the situation.
I've made a recording of your entire conversation with Aegir, Maestro. Please, take a look. As for whether you approve of me going,
I recall you submitted your application a week ago.
Yes, since the Aegir fleet is on their way now, I was wondering if...
Never hesitate when you've already made up your mind. It only makes you less persuasive.
When I was younger, Uncle Thiago was always worrying about me. He'd tell me, Jordi, you should leave Grand Faro, leave Iberia. But he never told me where to go. Aegir was always my homeland under the sea, but I had no way of approaching it. I'd never heard the voice of Aegir or seen its cities. But now it's so close.
The Inquisition has approved your application, Jordi Fontana Rossa. You will serve as an envoy of Iberia and accompany Irene and Kal'tsit to the Aegir city.
Thank you, Maestro.
Don't thank me. This isn't a reward. Your work since joining the Inquisition has not been particularly good. I chose Irene because she has already readied herself, even going as far as to renounce her long-standing faith. And I chose you because you are still bewildered and frustrated. Your weakness will consume you. Joining the Inquisition was a test. Returning to your homeland is another.
I understand.
This is the deepest part of the trench. They hollowed out its sides to make their nest. That's why we never noticed it before, despite circling this place several times. Yes, I smell it too. This scent. After destroying the ocean's native ecosystem, the Seaborn have created a new one that serves only them. A comprehensive seaborne ecosystem, where once it only existed in an oceanic abyss. Return, Rocinante. I will carry on alone.
Rocinante sways its neck in annoyance.
The entire continental shelf has changed. I must know who churned these waves. Tell the knight to continue the hunt. We will not be parted for long.
Ulpianus swims into the nest. He chooses not to use stealth. Luminescent vegetation Seaborn light up every corner of the nest. There is nowhere to hide in the first place. Atop, sets of spiraling blades, minute and curiously shaped organisms sleep, or perhaps drift along. The rocks of the seafloor cannot be seen. The fine tendrils of the nether-sea bran slowly sway in the current, catching fragments of organic matter. They weave together into thick mats, drowning out any sound Ulpianus makes. He can sense the changes in his own body. His consciousness extends and his body relaxes, as though every cell in his body is trying to respond to something. He is clearly an invader, but the entire lair blooms in response to him.
Be Ulpianus, kin.
Ulpianus is nearly able to see through the approaching Seaborn's translucent body. He waits for it to spit out its clumsy words about preying or being preyed on by him, but nothing comes. The Seaborn thinks about his thoughts.
Finally, you have traveled far. Here, sufficient nutrients shed your cumbersome flesh. Return, grow, migrate. For you, I was born, Ulpianus, only for you. I untangle your doubts. I guide you. Return to the embrace of we many.
Why did you migrate? Where will you go?
You still waver, Ulpianus. You must know we many kin. You must know. The Genesoic will soon awaken. The Genesoic must return. A new cycle. Develop the ocean. Leave the ocean.
The Genesoic will awaken. Leave the ocean.
We many see a new path ahead. We hurry.
What connection is there between you and the affairs of the city? Alright then, this was a introductory cutscene, wasn't it? From sorry. To immediately being bombarded by, hey, you wanna see how crazy the Aegir are with all of their shenanigans? Let me spawn this bioengineered drone army into the sky and just show you how much we can darken it with them. Holy, that is a display of power. Also, I love the casual mention of, oh yeah, you know all the Seaborn shenanigans you guys are fighting with at the shore and are struggling with, and it gives you trouble and so on and so forth. Yeah, all of that, that is something we deal on a Sunday with. The actual shit we are dealing with down there. You guys get the remnants. You guys get the remnants of whatever is left over. Well, that is like looking at the jaws of hell, but the actual abyss is one step behind that jaw. There's another mouth. There's always a bigger fish, right? as the good old meme goes, there is always a bigger fish. But yeah, that is an introduction to everything, and time to, well, go under the sea now and see what is happening with the cities, and see how very, well, I'm not gonna say it right now. I'm gonna say it after the next cutscene. You'll see it on the appearance of certain individuals. But anyway, BP-1, First Contact. When they saw it for themselves, they understood that it was just another homeland to somebody, no matter how different it may seem. Based on geological conditions, it's a promising volcano, but the location is less than optimal. It will be difficult to establish a lengthy energy transportation pipeline while fending off seaborne attacks. Did you read the Academy of Technology's report? Hydrogen from seawater can be used to maintain operation of the Legion fleet, but it would be difficult to guarantee uninterrupted energy supply to the beacon. It alone accounts for half of the entire city's energy consumption. It used to be much worse. Our ancestors had to design a bioenergy system for it, maintained through the joint effort of a dozen cities. In this day and age, a system like that would be attacked by the Seaborn before it could even be activated.
Regardless, we need to find a way to ensure power supply for the beacon.
Maybe Ulpianus would know a way. Let me get in. Oh.
Did you forget? He's still in the home territories, and our cities are under radio silence. We can't exactly lay fiber optic cables like we used to either, what with all the Seaborn out there.
I miss the days when we could get anyone in the country on a holographic call whenever we wanted.
Wait. What if we modify the output mode of the energy converter?
We have extremely limited experience in this area. There's always a safety risk.
With you in charge of the cognitive link, I believe the risk is reasonable.
Well, I'm glad you're that confident in me, but I'm not. Who knows what an extended conversation via cognitive link with our transformed countrymen would do to both our minds.
There has been plenty of research into this. It will be good as long as you keep a steady hand.
Even in the home territories, there are very few cases of transformed citizens being granted a final interview. Most are simply euthanized. Consul Clementia's ideas are radical, as always.
Which is exactly why I followed her here. By sorting through the threads of reason via conversation, we can grant them a chance to leave a final trace of their sapience in the world. And what better way to send them off than with a stimulating debate? Sadly, most of the survivors the Sea Patrol brings back are already transformed beyond recognition. Precious few have the opportunity to return to the city to receive a final interview.
Say... We're witnessing history unfold here, aren't we?
Or maybe we're just doing our jobs. I trust that the Institute of Development Planning's faith in you is not misplaced. Make your preparations.
Thanks. See you in the isolation chamber.
Excuse me. What the? A catastrophe? Under the sea?
Taken by surprise, the young man loses balance and falls, but an even stranger sight stifles his cries of surprise. He sees the passerby float into the air, swimming through it like fins through water, paying little heed to the swaying city below. As things return to normal, some land and walk away, continuing their conversations like nothing had happened, while others continue to swim forward through the air. He recalls the Aegir rituals the people of Grand Pharaoh had told him about when he was little.
Get up, Jordi. Right. Donna Irene? Next time you go out, remember to put on the device that the Sea Patrol gave us when we landed yesterday. Right, I remember that from the briefing videos. Which one was it again? The fourth one. The technicians at the port reminded me. They make regular adjustments to the gravity settings as part of what it takes to maintain the low gravity environment of Milliarium. They said it's like a fin adjusting its swim bladder.
So you went to tour the port?
Yes, I was interested in their ships and docks, their weapons, those massive ships that sail like foul beasts through reefs and cliffs. I saw traces of the Stultifera Navis in them. Brogan really did recreate Aegir technology in Iberia. Perhaps we should have sailed our proud armada out into the vast oceans rather than parading our gold-gilded ships along the coasts as a deterrent to those dukes and pashas.
Brogan.
You look nervous, Jordi. So nervous that you missed the point entirely.
I'm just feeling a little out of place. This place is stranger than I imagined. The air is thick and heavy, the ocean above my head sends a chill up my spine, and the glowing plants along the streets make me dizzy. Plus, what happened just now, Physical discomfort I could deal with, but there are so many oddities here I can't even begin to understand yet. The briefing videos Aegir provided were very detailed, but there is still so much that I couldn't comprehend, even after re-watching them so many times. Food moves on its own without a fork, clothes clean themselves without having to be removed. These things make sense, kind of. But edible sagas? Crunchy theorems? I just can't wrap my head around those. The best I can do for now is print out one of those emergency nutrition supply devices. All my life I've known nothing but Grand Pharaoh. Is this what it's like to...
No, it's not quite like an Iberian from a backwater village seeing the capital for the first time. Not that the City of Gold still exists. The difference here isn't one between a small town and a metropolis, but almost between two entirely different civilizations.
I tried to ask someone for directions, but couldn't understand what they were saying, or whether I was being rude to interrupt. I don't even know how they see me, in Aegir, in name only.
I have my concerns too.
You're worried too?
You of all people know what Iberia did to the Ægir after the Profound Silence. I don't know what kind of country Ægir is, how its people view that period of bloodshed, or how they view me, an emissary with blood on her hands.
But you didn't...
I'm here representing the Iberian Inquisition. I've seen the files on these slaughters. Each report on its own may be thin, but in aggregate, we committed many injustices while cleansing the influence of the Church of the Deep, and the islanders were the most affected. I still believe the Inquisition was in no position to be lenient, not when the country itself teetered on the brink. It was our collective decision that we should go to any length to ensure the nation's survival in a time of extraordinary crisis. But it does not lessen our crime.
I don't believe you need to worry about that.
Growing a massive vesicle to resist a blast from Class 3 weaponry, and covering the retreat of the other Seaborn into the depths of the trench. How is it even possible for biological tissue to be made to resist the force of a microsingularity?
The Sea Patrol brought back tissue samples. They've already been sent to your lab through the transport tubes.
At least they haven't yet developed a collective resistance to Class 3 weaponry, like they have for Class 1 and 2.
The performance of Class 3 weaponry is demonstrably superior. But even more concerning is that an individual Seaborn has evolved measures specifically to counter it. They're more organized than before. You've been analyzing the Seaborn's adaptation to various weaponry ever since Milliarium set sail. Did you already foresee this? Advisor Blandus?
To an extent, but we need more time to confirm our theories. Thank you, Secunda. Your reports are always so detailed I dare not blink for fear of missing something. Little Handy, got me some eye drops.
Ignore that command, Little Handy. Just a bad joke. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. I need to speak to the technicians about the damage suffered by our ships.
I'd rather you stay just a while longer, unless you're hurrying to get some rest after work.
Isn't it somewhat ironic, considering you've also received numerous health warnings but haven't seen a doctor yet?
Very well. Still, I'd appreciate it if you could hear me out. It won't take long. I just need to confirm something. Have you read Gladia's report?
I have.
Then you should know about Ulpianus. I thought you'd at least show some sort of reaction.
Of course, I'm concerned about the reappearance of the Abyssal Hunters after 5 years of silence, especially when the Waterway program is at a key juncture. And Ulpianus' unusual activities are of particular note. He clearly made contact with Gladia's group and is aware of Milliarium, but has made no attempt to re-establish communications with Aegir. Meanwhile, we've heard from our Iberian sources that he's also declined to work with Iberia. He may be proud, arrogant even, but he is no fool. He must have his reasons for acting alone. Regardless, I intend to find out where he is and what he's planning.
That's utilitarianism, that impatience. He's rubbed off on you. We hoped you'd be better than that. I can only pray your decision-making will be more prudent while tracking him. Nevertheless, I have faith that you'll keep me updated on his whereabouts.
What are you talking about, Advisor Blandus? Neither of us is part of the Abyssal Hunter program anymore. You're the weapons technology advisor for the Waterway program now. Aren't utilitarian, impatient decisions the usual business in your field? And shouldn't you be getting information about Ulpianus from Milliarium's official sources? Why involve me?
Of course, of course. Just a momentary lapse in judgment. I can't fault you for carrying out your duty as Prefecta of the Sea Patrol. I just ask that you remember what Ulpianus did for us, for Aegir.
Yes, speaking. What? Missing? I'm on my way.
Who's missing?
One of the technicians on the Waterway program has gone AWOL. And you are?
Avitus from the Institute of Prehistoric Studies, Academy of Science. We study the documents and artifacts of the prehistoric civilization.
Irene, emissary of the Iberian Inquisition.
Jordi Fontanarossa. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. And don't worry, I didn't come to lecture you. I simply felt it was my duty as a citizen of Aegir to free our landbound friends from their needless concerns.
Needless concerns?
What I mean to say is, Aegir understands that Iberia took measures proportionate to the extraordinary nature of the times. We can find similar periods in our own history, or even that of the glorious prehistoric civilization. The exclusion of outsiders as a necessary means of maintaining social order appears to be an inevitable step in the progress of civilization. Besides, we welcome our displaced countrymen to return to the sea, just as we respect the decision of those who have opted to leave. The consequences of their choices belong only to them.
I appreciate Aegir's magnanimity, Avitus, but the consequences they suffered were, No, it's nothing. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Mr. Avitus, our landbound guests, please be informed that this area has been designated for investigation. You are advised to proceed to another area unless you have unresolved matters here.
A hand of the saint? The Peanut Battalion used them to clean up Seaborn remains, but I never knew they could talk.
Apparently, our people who brought them to land did not have the time to demonstrate their full capabilities. Multi-purpose support equipment, commonly known as a Little Handy. They currently offer 972 different function modules, excluding obsolete ones. One can sometimes tell their affiliation just by looking at their parts and paint job. This one, for example, belongs to the Sea Patrol. Should I reply? We're very sorry, Little Handy, sir. That would be unnecessary. It may be equipped with a voice, but it doesn't mean it's intelligent.
I assume that with your technology, maybe...
It's true that the topic of simulated personalities has fascinated many a researcher. The first attempt was created 230 years ago and continues to operate to this day. In fact, I can put in an application for you if you wish to talk to it. However, whether from the perspective of neuroscience, psychology, sociology, or anthropology, simulated personalities have proven to be rather disappointing in terms of their benefits to research. Perhaps I've gone off topic though. In short, they've remained the stuff of niche research, and we do not consider them suitable for widespread application. The goal of all technological development is to empower humanity. What purpose is there in turning a machine into a human? I see. Fascinating.
You said this little handy belongs to the Sea Patrol?
Only they would fit such powerful loudspeakers onto one. When quieter means of communication are available, I suppose you could consider it the retro.
What sort of organization are they? Do they frequently undertake such investigations?
The Sea Patrol is part of our legions. They perform a supporting role in combat, as well as regular reconnaissance, patrol, security, and disaster response duties. Emergency sweeps like this are rare, but with the Waterway program, at such a critical moment, it's only reasonable for them to be on high alert.
Little Handy, am I allowed to remain here?
It is not recommended, but not forbidden.
Then I'll wait here. I'll like a chance to speak to the Sea Patrol.
Very well. And you, Jordi? I'll be going. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? Of course not. There's a limit to what I can answer outside my specialty, though. Perhaps I could show you to a place better suited for such a conversation. The Southern Theatrum.
Did you sleep well, Doctor? You seem a little haggard.
It's the air pressure and humidity.
Yes, the Aegir seem to have retained some of their aquatic traits. Are you not feeling well?
Just a little short of breath.
Is it serious?
Don't worry, it's nothing.
Let me know if you feel any discomfort. Besides, to be frank, I thought there may be another reason for your reaction. Does anything about Aegir or the depths of the ocean seem familiar to you?
Maybe, but only vaguely.
I know it might be difficult, but remembering even the slightest detail could be of great help to us all.
Sorry, I can't remember anything else.
It's okay. Just try to relax, Doctor. Seeing the Preserver has inevitably hastened the pace at which you recall the truth, even though I had hoped you would not touch upon what you'd forgotten so quickly. No one knows when your path of suffering will end, not even yourself. In that, we are all powerless. What we do know is that you've had an encounter with the Abyss. The ocean is yet another path to your past, and we are finally upon it.
You seem excited. Do I detect satisfaction?
Yes, I wanted to set foot in Aegir countless times. Until now, I have waited on the shore and drifted on the waves. I have witnessed lighthouses and the Armada turn from ideas to reality. Brogan had never given up on re-establishing communication with Aegir through such means. But all his efforts ended in failure. Aegir never welcomed home their prodigal son, much less opened their doors to outsiders. But now they are even more eager to cooperate than I had anticipated. We need no longer waste effort to persuade a proud and aloof giant. I can't deny feeling happy about that.
You don't look particularly happy. Is there something else troubling you?
I'm afraid there is. Aegir's proactive stance indicates that they have a plan for making contact with the land. But even the most moderate of their measures may seem too radical for land-bound civilization. A single gesture of goodwill could cause a massive storm.
We should intervene as soon as possible. The Abyssal Hunters are a good entry point.
The hunter situation warrants concern too. To Aegir, they are neither emissaries nor guests. Having participated in the most radical project in Aegir's history and come back to life after being declared dead for 5 years, I worry that their return home would only cause trouble, controversy.
Skadi, Specter, you're back.
Where's Gladiia? A somewhat troublesome fellow called her away. I thought your priority upon returning would be to get checkup. What could possibly be more urgent? No idea. But once Gladia's done with her interview, I guess Skadi and I are gonna go do some stupid checkup. Swordfish and I are fine. Shark's changes might be a little problematic.
There's no Reginium in the ocean, is there? Does Aegir understand neuropathy?
I read some medical papers before I underwent the surgery. Even back then, they had advanced knowledge of medulla regeneration and replacement. They should be able to help her. You needn't worry, Doctor. I've inspected myself in the mirror on that great ship. On returning, those endless dreams still creep up on me like bubbles, but they've also become as light as bubbles. Besides, I feel like I'd have more regrets about losing those dreams. But for now, I'm as lucid as I've ever been, and luckily for you, I'm even in the mood to take you on a tour of the city. Interested?
Yeah, let's go.
Did you think we were touring a museum? You were looking at the instruments like they were exhibits.
The third place I mistook for a museum then. Why is gravity reversed in there?
There are some things even I can't explain. Technology has advanced a lot in 5 years.
Wait, that tower, there's a launch pad at the heart of the city?
Good eye, Doctor. That's a beacon launcher. One with plenty of history. You know about it, Shark? My parents took me around the home territories when I was little. There are similar structures in many cities.
I thought Aegir children were raised collectively.
I was, but Shark has a special relationship with her biological parents. They're more like friends than parents. They reached a consensus with the Institute of Incubation to bring me along whenever they worked on a new dome project. I spent most of my time in the Institute of Incubation, but I was able to see the cities, learn, and even work alongside them.
So, what's this beacon launcher for?
Exactly what it sounds like. It launches beacons to mark the waterway.
Those are some huge beacons. How big is this waterway anyway?
Aegir had almost mastered the oceans around 300 years ago, effectively using natural energy in its various forms and recording every seafloor trench in our navigational charts. Then we cast our sights on another ocean, one brimming with stars. Our fleets and even our cities were meant to cross that boundary that could never have existed and light the fires of civilization beyond the barrier.
Beyond the barrier?
The Preserver was right, Doctor. Kirsten's achievement is not beyond Aegir's reach. The sea and the sky are closer than we thought. People back then tried plenty of things, surveying and deciphering the electron clouds, developing new technologies and materials, exploring forms of life that can adapt to space. This beacon launcher is a product of that era. It was intended to capture even the faintest signals from the stars and plant beacons that would never fade from our star charts. Nanomachine swarms would form networks between the beacons, allowing us to traverse vast distances in an instant, or so we dreamt. You never told me any of this before. Lucid moments were hard to come by on land. But yesterday, I dreamt once again of walking from the Sophon Theatrum straight into that epoch. Then I saw Laurentina dance. She leapt from the waves to the stars, stirring up stardust that trailed the hems of her dress. From afar, the voice of the master of all creation answered her in song. The universe and imagination know no bounds, and Laurentina's dance will never cease.
Spectre closes her eyes, as though sinking back into the dream.
What is it? Just trying to picture it.
It's a beautiful dream. Perhaps that day will really come, Laurentina.
Before pushing open the door to the stars, they wanted to prepare themselves for any threats beyond the barrier. That is, until the Seaborn appeared and interrupted the dream. We poured all our efforts into studying them, setting aside all else, art, science, and previous visions for the future. The Seaborn fundamentally changed Aegir.
What did you do before becoming a hunter, Skadi?
Me? I was the best technician at the Institute of Facility Management. I could keep an entire city's underwater light array running on my own. The Institute of Development Planning's career proposal was pretty much what I was thinking, so I accepted. Working by yourself can be lonely, but it's not such a bad thing playing with the giant fins in the reefs or lighting up the ocean while daydreaming. Say, Kal'tsit and Doctor, we've shared a lot of info during our time together, but we've never talked about our old lives.
Because they've changed.
I guess you're right. Sorry for bringing up something so heavy on our tour. We have all the waves in the world hanging above our heads. Would you care to share a dance before dealing with all this bother, Doctor? Gladiia.
Gladia's hand instinctively goes to her weapon as the woman approaches with a ceremonial sword in hand. But all she does is put her arms around Gladia's shoulders. Gladiia smells stimulants in the air. Aegir do not make a habit of greeting each other with physical contact. She could not remember even her mother ever doing so. But this woman's action felt completely natural.
Consul Clementia? I was not aware that this was the standard salute between chief designers of warfare. Nothing makes me happier than seeing the hunters return as lucid as ever. Your soldiers' reactions when they first saw me suggested otherwise. The operation to eliminate the Firstborn cost Aegir all of its Abyssal Hunters. Secunda made many rescue attempts, but was unable to penetrate the rampaging mass of Seaborn that guard the region after the death of the Firstborn. Your mother, Horatia, had no choice but to publicly declare you dead. But I know her. She doesn't really believe that. Or perhaps Consul Horatia, foremost of the Institute of Scientific Development Planning, simply could not accept that I had died for nothing. I know her too. But I don't think it is appropriate for a meeting between two chief designers of warfare to revolve around a complicated mother-daughter relationship. Of course, of course. Look at the city.
The consul's Penisvarium sits high in the city. The seawater hangs just above their heads. The transparent dome serves as a gentle mirror, warding off the deep and foreboding void, while granting the Aegir the solace of introspection. Beneath the dome, the entire city is bathed in a blue hue. The beacon launchpad stands tall at its center, while ships glide in and out of the distant docks like schools of fins.
The sea itself has no color, only darkness. Milliarium stands in its murky depths like the vigilant eye of civilization, solitary and luminous. We once had many such cities. One by one, the stars in the sea went out, becoming sustenance for the Seaborn. All that's left of the seafloor are their colorful eerie nests. I won't deny that the Abyssal Hunter project was a failed gambit. The death of the Firstborn did not stop their evolution. So I want to know what solution Aegir has come up with next. What you have come up with. What is this Waterway program? Gladiia, I didn't mean I'm simply part of an even bigger gambit, one with even higher stakes. The weapon classification scheme remains nothing more than a strict control over weapon usage to delay the evolution of the Seaborn. This time, however, we have taken into account every weapon at our disposal or under development. A mix of conventional ballistics and Class 1 weapons initially proved highly effective, The Seaborn were unable to comprehend why they were being burned by the seawater around them. But it took them only a year to adapt. 11 months in, we accelerated the adaptation of Class 2 weapons, which operated on completely different principles. Etc., etc.
Until their evolution outpaced the ability of the Academy of Technology to innovate.
Yes. At day's end, all we're doing is merely buying time. Aegir has committed vast resources to study the Seaborn. To eradicate them at their origin, we must first comprehend them at their source. The information you've brought back is highly valuable, and Breagan's discovery on land corroborates the Academies of Sciences research.
The Seaborn and the Faramutes share the same genesis. Is Aegir coming ashore to seek memories even more ancient?
Not just that, the Seaborn share a common genesis with the Faramute, but much about them is very different, unnatural, one might say. Their recent activity demonstrates a clear sense of purpose. They have quickly abandoned their reliance on the sea and began to migrate towards land en masse. Left unchecked, it is not out of the question that all of Terra could become infested with Seaborn.
We already saw hints of that in Iberia.
Thus, for Aegir, the land is both a source of answer and a solemn responsibility. Horatia has issued new war orders on behalf of the Institute of Development Planning, and Milliarium has come bearing new Class 4 weapons from the Academy of Technology. They are a form of biological weapon, very different from all previous ones, designed to induce death in nearby seaborn nests and newborns, while driving away adults from the area. We have successfully located most of the nests in the targeted region. The ones near Iberia are the only ones yet unmarked. Once the beacons have been placed and the weapons activated, we will finally have cleared an entire region of Seaborn and established a route back to Aegir's home territories.
Consul Horatia would not have permitted the possibility of failure, yet all I see is the city under siege, teetering on the brink.
Yes, she did tell me herself that the Waterway program will not fail. I do not know how many other possibilities she considered, and I hope I never do. For me, the city has always been the entirety of the Waterway program. But that is no longer true. The changes in the past month necessitate a review of our plans. The Seaborn have rapidly adapted to our new weapons, even involving measures to protect their kindred from Class 3. But a successful extermination operation should have left no opportunity for them to communicate with other individuals. They seem to have obtained their inspiration elsewhere.
Almost every mutation of the Seaborn against humanity has been abated by the twisted efforts of corrupted Aegir. Yet the Seaborn lack true intelligence. We could toss all our prototype weapons into their nest, and they wouldn't dismantle or study them. The Church of the Deep may be able to train them to attack an army or a city, but bringing about rapid biological changes is another matter entirely.
Unless they're not being influenced by the Church of the Deep, but by another Firstborn.
I see you've read my belated report. Indeed, Ulpianus claims that the one we eliminated was not the only one.
The Abyssal Hunters were the first and last Aegir to enter the Firstborn's lair. Even now, the Seaborn defend the ruins with a frenzied fury. We have not found a way to get through. Amongst the hunters, Ulpianus spent the longest time there, enough for him to witness the truth.
You're still deliberating on whether to believe him.
Yes. It could be the key to solving the mystery of the Seaborn, or the path that leads us to destruction. Could a hunter survive for months on Seaborn remains and remain lucid? Would a lucid hunter willingly stay with them, rather than returning to civilization? There are too many unanswered questions about Ulpianus and that fateful operation. And so I regret to inform you that Aegir has no choice but to welcome its hunters home with a tribunal. I thought we had designated this area for investigation. Madam Irene, from Iberia. May I ask to whom I am speaking? Secunda, Prefecta of the Sea Patrol. I regret not being able to greet you personally upon your arrival yesterday. The Sea Patrol is currently investigating the disappearance of a citizen. We have not requested assistance from Iberia, and respectfully request that you exit this area as soon as possible. I would like to assist as myself, not as an envoy. Your offer is appreciated but unnecessary. I want to... Any news from the other teams?
One moment, getting the video feed now.
Ma'am!
No unusual movements at the port.
Alert the other teams to monitor the closed civilian gates and keep a close watch on the circulation system around town.
Roger.
You're okay with talking about this in front of me? This is part of our regular duties. There's no need for confidentiality. But you had your little handies clear the place out. Only to prevent unnecessary harm to civilians. If you insist on staying, you'll be responsible for your own safety. The missing civilian is Tulia, a scientist from the Waterway program, responsible for recording and calibrating data on Seaborn nests. She went AWOL 30 hours ago and hasn't been seen since. Could it be... the Church of the Deep? That's what we intend to find out. Her disappearance has not affected the overall progress of the project. As important as recording and calibrating the data is, her role was by no means irreplaceable. If the Church's goal was to assassinate someone to disrupt our plans, they would have not picked an ordinary data scientist. Unless... she learned something she wasn't supposed to. I need to inspect her home. You're sharp, Madam Irene, but I would recommend against coming with us. I'm simply investigating our common enemy in my own way. Suit yourself.
Well then, so these people, first off, I like the Greek, I like the Latin, there's a lot of it, don't you worry, there's a lot of Latin here, oh boy is there a lot of Latin. We'll get to that later when I give you the rundown of certain names being translated, but more on that later. First off, the very beginning when they started mentioning stuff like, oh yeah, hydrogen, I was like, wait, you guys have fission? You guys... Okay, that's... You know, I've been surprised so far by a lot of stuff in Arknights, how far advanced some stuff is. I mean, the doctor's race and stuff like that, I'm not even gonna question. They are literally a Type 3 and potentially even beyond a Type 3 civilization in space by the Kardashev scale. But these people here under the sea having nuclear fission essentially is something that had me scratch my head for a second. And then they start talking about, oh, I wish we could just lay down the fiber optic cables between the cities and have proper like connections and shit like that, holographic calls. And why do they have better, technically, why do they have better internet below the sea than we have here in real life on the land? Do we need to become fish? Do we need to embrace the fish? But yeah, anyway, there has been quite a lot. Now, the other thing I will say, however, oh yeah, one important thing I forgot to mention in the previous little ramble part, the Doctor being part of the story is actually a surprise to me. Not gonna lie, I didn't expect the Doctor to show up here. I don't remember, because it's been a while now, if it was teased that the Doctor is on their way in Stultifera. Maybe it was, and I'm just forgetting, rather. But that's fine. But on the other hand, I love that the doc is here, because again, like I mentioned earlier, with the little introduction with Karula Arbor, the doc has a deep connection to the sea, pun intended, And it's very nice to see, and I'm kind of wondering now what will happen actually in the story. Will like a snippet of an information resurface, or will the Doctor put 2 and 2 together with certain elements? I do wonder. I do wonder where this is gonna go. Now I'm even more excited because the Doc is present in the story. The other thing I'm gonna say here is, if you've just finished with the main story, chapter 14, and are here and are listening to this, or did it yourself and are listening to this, doesn't matter. But if you're here and experiencing this story, seeing Kal'tsit being like legit concerned about the Doctor, having a bit of a friendly banter here and there with the Doc during this story is, you know why it is. If you finished episode 14, you know why. Especially even Bubble. This just brings joy to my heart, quite honestly. This is a familiar bonding now, and I love it. These two are actually hanging out together and are just conversing, and it's good. The other two things I'm gonna mention is the choices that you could make at certain points with the stuff that I shown here. Like the one with Skadi, where you have like 3 options to ask about weird technologies and phenomena in the city. Like the gravity thing that I pointed out. It doesn't matter which one you pick. She's always gonna give you the same answer. She doesn't know. It's Skadi. She doesn't know this technology mumbo jumbo, how it works. She's a very simple person. But on the other hand, there was another option where you could choose between either ask about Skadi's past or Specter's past. Now, I chose Skadi purely because her past isn't something that we have kind of talked about at any given point, I believe. Outside of one entry. The Specter stuff is something that we've already learned through the stories, and I think also a bunch of her files and operator records, and I think even the module story talks about it, but I don't remember clearly right now. But her being, and it gets kind of elaborated here in the story later on as well, that her whole connection with her parents and architecture, sculpturing, all of that such, pretty much she gives a short answer about that in that same kind of lieu. So I chose Skadi because that is a more interesting thing that we don't really get brought up a lot. But one place that we did have Skadi's past brought up and what she was doing is actually in Karula Arbor. In Mizuki Karula Arbor, the monthly edition of Skadi in there had her usual 3-part story. All 3 parts are individual stories. The very interesting one, the most interesting one out of the 3 parts, was the 3rd one. That 3rd one was a story about Skadi pretty much doing what she was describing here where I was reading it out. She was just a technician, she was maintaining the lights outside of the city, outside of the walls. She was living in like a small little capsule, I guess you could call it, on the bottom of the seafloor there by her lonesome, just enjoying her time. But in that was a very interesting one on top of it, because in that one she interacts with the Steely, an object that shows the different timelines and pasts essentially, or futures essentially rather, and that version of Skadi that interacts with the Steely sees a version of a timeline in which a Skadi, together with other people that version never saw, beats a giant Seaborn creature and drifts unconscious to the bottom of the seafloor. And that was very interesting. So an alternative version of Skadi essentially saw an actual timeline that we are familiar with, which is funny because I think the hint was also in that story that that version of Skadi, our version of Skadi, might have possibly come into contact with that same Steely at the bottom of the seafloor. It's a crazy one, it's a mind-bending one, but I thought it's worth mentioning that yes, her story about how she lived her life prior to becoming an Abyssal Hunter is something that is already in the game, just in a very obscure place. But yeah, anyway, we do have 2 new enemies here, which look both like graffiti. Kinda like it, kinda confused. But anyway, we have the Unicellular Predator, a simple seaborn believed to be responsible for foraging. It requires very little energy for its activities. I mean, I will believe this sentence. It literally looks like a graffiti that is swimming around. The other one is the Toxocellular Drifter, a seaborn with a highly developed cytosystem, believed to be responsible for transportation. shoots venomous cilia to protect itself. Lovely. The next thing in line here is the training stage, which doesn't have any kind of cutscenes, but says Beacon Deployment Drill. Learn how the Seaborn form carapaces and how to operate beacons. And then we move on to our second part for today, which is the BP-2 stage, Tribunal Welcome. People look for the familiar in those whom they have not seen for a while, forgetting the existence of time. Let's begin.
No one has been in here the whole time?
Affirmative. No signs that the Little Handy's logs have been altered either.
Excuse me, how do you view those records? Grant her the permissions.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, very nice.
Secunda takes a device from her belt and dances her pen across its surface, leaving trails like a labyrinth of seaweeds.
What's your perfecta doing?
She scribbles whenever she's thinking, says it helps her organize her thoughts. It's a habit she's had ever since she was a researcher. No one else can decipher what she's writing, or drawn. Not even that's clear. She's the only one who can parse it.
Books are arranged by thickness, shell decorations by size, and data downloaded from the Sophon Theatrum by time. Seaweed cream to prevent dry skin. Is it because Milliarium is approaching the coast? There's enough to last 3 years. An ordinary Aegir woman, cautious, timid even, matches the data from the Institute of Development Planning. Those hydroponic tanks. What are these boxes for? Why put them on the wall if they're empty? Yes, the hydroponic boxes may provide a lead. Scan all equipment in the room related to plant cultivation.
Yes, ma'am.
Also pull whatever you can from Tullia's files. Education, employment, hobbies, anything that might be relevant.
She previously worked at the Institute of Ecological Art with a focus on the cultivation of endangered seaweed. To quote straight from the IEA's files, the artist has carefully cultivated these deep-sea seaweeds to weave a dynamic, ever-evolving portrait of life as they grow. These hydroponic boxes were Tullia's belongings. Images of her artwork are also available.
How beautiful. They look like they've been left empty for quite some time. According to the files, she joined the Waterway program after a reassignment. She wouldn't have abandoned her old life for no reason. True, her disappearance may very well be related to her career change. How's that scan coming?
Nothing unusual with the cultivation equipment, but we found an operation log in the integrated terminal. 2 days before she went missing, she downloaded some data from the Beacon Tower Control Center and made a backup. We were unable to locate the file itself, though.
Try to backtrack her steps, contact the control center, and trace the data from their download logs. If she was still going to work before she disappeared, couldn't her friends or colleagues know something? Perhaps. What's the situation on her social relationships? What about the
Anything I can help you with, Jody?
Sorry, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. This, metal tree, do I just ask it? I've heard legends of ancient trees acting as repositories of knowledge, but I've never seen anything like this.
This coral-shaped integrated terminal is the culmination of centuries of Aegir's knowledge and culture. Everything we think, know, create, appreciate, and even the questions we have yet to answer, they're all here. It's the heart of the Sophon Theatrum.
And what is the Sophon Theatrum exactly?
Conceived and established by Martus, the great scholar of anthropology and prehistoric civilization, it is a public facility that has had a profound impact on the nation. Aside from the mutually supporting atoll city clusters above the sea level and the modular city networks in the trenches, most of our other cities have unique forms and designs. Yet even so, nearly all of them have chosen to adopt Martus's design and establish their own Sophentheatrum. Look around you. This is a place for people to think, doubt, and debate, eventually coming to an understanding and making a decision. A coliseum of wits, if you will. The most complex equations, the most ancient drawings, the most beautiful songs, and the most well-traveled roads were all born here. I believe this is exactly what Martus himself wanted. You keep mentioning this Martus. What kind of man was he? Simply listening to all his contributions to Aegir would take an entire day, perhaps more, but I do happen to have some insight into his personality. Oh, you knew him? No, he lived more than 2 centuries ago. He'd been gone from Aegir long before I was born. But our professor liked to speak of his eccentricities. He was unmatched in theoretical and deductive reasoning, yet was always reluctant to draw a conclusion. Even on issues where the answer was plain to all, he would refuse to put the question to rest until after an extended debate with himself. Some would say that trapping himself in endless debate showed he cared too much about the value and meaning of things, but is that not in our human nature? Which is why he built the Sophentheatrum. We needed a place where we could engage in intellectual discourse both with ourselves and with others. I wouldn't say I'm up for a debate, but I do have a lot of questions. Should I ask you, myself, or this terminal? It seems our little discussion must have given way to a greater showdown. What do you mean? They're holding a tribunal, and it concerns 3 of those you arrived with. The Abyssal Hunters?
Oh hey, is that our land-bound friend I spy? Aw, he looks worried about us. He won't see you from that far away. Others are looking this way though. This tribunal has drawn more attention than expected. We hunters always have, and now they even have the lovely story of our return from the dead. Like it or not, the Abyssal Hunters are in the spotlight now. This tribunal will be our final checkup, yes? Frankly, they're getting tiresome.
Consider it our warm welcome.
The hunters need to keep a low profile. We must also act with prudence, Doctor.
We always find ourselves in delicate situations.
Indeed. This time we're not merely mediating between 2 countries, but between land and the sea, 2 vastly different civilizations. Following the tribunal, I will formally address Aegir's council to foster cooperation between land and sea, but for now you'll need to assist Gladiia independently, Doctor. The situation remains uncertain for both the city and ourselves. Certain matters become more difficult if I am placed at the center of attention.
But no one will be watching your assistant. Should I play it by ear?
Yes, but be careful. I would prefer not to have to change our objective in the middle of negotiations with the council. Dr. Kal'tsit sure uses a lot of big words, doesn't she? Does she ever get straight to the point? Our dear Dr. Kal'tsit thinks too much about too many things and not nearly enough about how to convey that she cares. Wouldn't you agree that more direct, Aegir-style communication is better, Doctor?
Absolutely.
Don't worry, Shark and I will protect you. Say, where's Captain Gladiia? I imagine she'll show up with Consul Clementia. After all, she's the one who will be taking the stand today. Excuse me, are you Laurentina?
I had a hunch I'd find you here, Advisor. The environmental sample test results are out. We need you to take a look at these if we need another round of genetic testing. Oh, sorry, didn't see your message.
You seem preoccupied by the Abyssal Hunters Tribunal. You used to work at the Abyssal Hunter lab, right?
I'd rather not talk about it. But yes, I was researching gene splicing methods that would provide a safer and more effective way to perform the hunter modifications.
But you didn't like the program?
It's not about liking or disliking, it's that it failed to produce results despite all the sacrifices we made. But what matters now is that they're alive, Gladiia and the others. I have to be here, if only for them.
Were you too close?
If only she thought so too.
Magister Avitus, may I sit here?
Of course, Cassia. Be careful though. Recovery from embryo separation surgery takes time. This is Jordi, I guess from Iberia.
Thank you. And hello.
Oh, hello.
There are more participants than expected. Even when the Institute of Facility Management held a tribunal to discuss modifications to the city's unit framework, only 2 departments were involved.
The tribunal system exists to solve problems after all. The only reason to involve more departments is when the problem is too complex for one.
But the Sophon Theatrum is already half full. Is the return of the Abyssal Hunters really such a big deal?
It's a project that took 2 centuries of debate before implementation. Its philosophy shook the very foundations of Aegir, and its every progress tugs the string of Aegir's future. Besides, the Waterway program is reaching its most critical juncture. Even the smallest thing out of the ordinary is worthy of attention. Simply reading a report is not nearly enough to come to an informed decision. Consul Clementia needs the counsel of experts in multiple fields. I'm sure that many have come out of their own accord though. The return of 3 hunters is bound to cause unease at such a sensitive time.
I'm not really here for the tribunal, but I heard you might make an appearance, so... And who might you be? Oh, sorry. I'm Lucilla. I had the honor of meeting your parents once. Rulers and ink. Are you an architect working on the dome system here? I transferred out of that last year, but I'm still with the Institute of Facility Management. Now I maintain the city unit framework and measure ocean currents. Envy not the sun, for we have given ourselves the eternal stars and the infinite sea. When I was little, the foster parents at the Institute of Incubation took us to hold a performance here. We created a matrix of tiny optical machines representing neural activity with changes to the brightness of the dots. We'd rehearsed thoroughly, but the Sophon Theatre malfunctioned on the day of the performance, and the whole place went dark, except for those little machines. But a couple in the audience worked their magic, and ribbons of light fell from the dome as if arms reaching out to invite our little machines to dance. It was so beautiful that the blackout almost felt intentional. Ha! I can picture the smug look on their faces. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they really had something to do with it. When the Institute of Development Planning did its career assessment, I applied for the dome system without a second thought. It was only then that I learned they were famous dome designers. That was the only time I saw them. So they were at the right time and place to inspire you. But you said you transferred out of the dome work. Why, when you've already formed such a special bond with our big, transparent friend above? I am... Lucilla, the tribunal is about to start. You want to sit here? Oh, sorry, my colleague is calling out to me. Anyway, welcome home, Laurentina, and I wish you the best of luck. Pretty much everyone's here. Hey, where are you going, Doctor?
The hunters draw too much attention. I'll just be watching from the stands.
Kal'tsit's words really got to you, haven't they? As you're all well aware, Milliarium has successfully made contact with Iberia, As such, the Waterway program now enters its most critical phase.
A thread of light leaves the massive coral-shaped terminal to surround her, forming a giant ethereal ring in the air that dances to the Council's words. More threads weave together to form cities and tides, hunters and seaborn, transmuting words to images and giving substance to sound. The crowd quiets down.
And at this critical juncture, we also welcome home our surviving Abyssal Hunters, Gladiia, Skadi, and Laurentina. The result of their physical examinations and Gladia's mission report have been uploaded to the Theatrum's terminal and are available for your perusal. I'm sure many of you have already done so. Concerning the irregular circumstances therein, I now call upon Consul Gladiia, leader of Aegir's Honor Exercitus and chief designer of warfare of the Abyssal Hunters, to answer your questions.
You navigate through several rows of Aegir and sit in one of the back rows, with plenty of room around you. You have a clear view of everything happening in the Theatrum. The Tribunal has already begun. The speakers do not raise their voices, yet every word is clear in the massive ring-like structure. Gladiia steps forward, drawing everyone's gaze. Suddenly you hear footsteps so soft they are almost inaudible, like a shadow from the somber dome touching the floor. Not a sound, or I'll crush your throat. Consul Gladiia, is it in your opinion that the issue does not lie with the battle itself?
Correct. What you see before you is a projection of the battle plan. If anyone here notices a flaw I haven't, I'd expect it to be pointed out.
No, I have no objections to the battle plan. It was the most suitable one, given what we knew at the time. However, I would like your opinion on what we knew at the time.
I have to admit that Aegir's knowledge of the Seaborn back then was deeply flawed. As such, what are they trying to say? Still not used to their way of thinking, are you? You never did like thinking much, even back home. They mean no ill will. They're simply seeking the truth they need. Identify every flaw and question all perfections. The most heated debates will uncover truth in its full beauty and reveal the right way forward. Just leave it to Swordfish. If you don't want to listen, just take a nap. In conclusion, our greatest error when designing the warfare 5 years ago was failing to make allowance for flaws in our knowledge. Until every last truth of Terra is revealed, we must admit that our understanding of the Seaborn will remain flawed. Our warfare design must reflect this revelation.
I concur. Your conclusion should be incorporated into our future battle plans. It has been an honor to reflect upon this critical battle and reach a fruitful conclusion with you.
That said, the battle 5 years ago is not our only concern. We have more pressing issues to worry about. Your physical examination has revealed mutations that cannot be ignored. The same goes for Skadi and Laurentina. I do not doubt your loyalty, but we need to know how assimilation by Seaborn genes will affect your behavior. Apologies for my candor. Milliarium will soon identify the locations of the remaining nests. Then the Seaborn will be driven out by the Class 4 weapons, opening up a waterway. Is there any possibility that the Abyssal Hunters will become an enemy of Ægir and of yourselves?
Hunters out of control pose a greater risk to Ægir, the Seaborn. The Abyssal Hunters are the flip side of Ægir, created in Ægir's most despicable attempt at salvation. They are now both feared and pitied by their creators.
Abyssal Hunter Ulpianus, I presume? Shouldn't you be down there too?
You're much calmer than I expected, and you know who I am. It seems Gladiia has built a relationship on land with more than just the one doctor. I've never seen you in any of the operations. You're not an Inquisitor, nor an Islander. The doctor from Rhode Island brought you to Aegir, but kept your identity a secret.
I'm just Kal'tsit's colleague.
You may introduce yourself however you like. However, the point is that you can help the Hunters.
Why don't you just go to Skadi?
This is not her forte.
You don't trust the Hunters?
On the contrary, I do trust them, but I also know them all too well. Skadi acts before thinking. Laurentina has not been lucid for long. Gladiia will inevitably be the one to make decisions. I've already shared much of what I know with her. She should be on guard. She knows the potential restrictions, but nevertheless decided to return to Aegir. Overeager to return to familiar environment, she is oblivious to the fact that she has placed herself in the spotlight, where all that can and cannot be trusted have the power to scrutinize her. Now is not the best time for the Abyssal Hunters to come home. Their decision is a big gamble.
Why did you sneak into the city then?
Gladiia and the others are not in a good situation. They underwent modifications, but unlike me, they were not part of the Abyssal Hunters Project core research. Explaining the changes in their bodies will be difficult for them. I'll pass on some information to you, and I'll need you to help Gladiia if necessary. Convey my warning to her later. As for the rest...
May I say a few things?
Blandus is here too.
Blandus?
Isn't this just like the old days? You and Ulpianus used to get into arguments with the researcher staff while I was napping.
Your comments would be much appreciated, advisor.
You flatter me, Counsel. I was the technical advisor for the Abyssal Hunter project, responsible for the gene splicing research used in the modification process. In other words, at this exact moment and in this exact place, I am the leading authority on Abyssal Hunters. Gladiia, Laurentina, and Skadi have been fighting on dry land too frequently and for too long. It is indeed cause for concern regarding their physical condition. As such, your concerns are not without reason, but my answer is this. No. They will not become Seaborn.
The hall goes silent. Blandus clears his throat.
Let me try to explain this in layman's terms. Under ordinary circumstances, Seaborn genes exhibit abnormal dominance and will irreversibly overwrite any pre-existent traits in their host. In Abyssal Hunters, however, we have managed to extend the timeline of this process until it far exceeds the natural lifespan of any given hunter. Furthermore, the Academy of Technology made a critical breakthrough, allowing us to implant an auto-adaptive junction in all the hunters before their deployment to eradicate the Firstborn. The auto-adaptive junction was implemented at the splice point between human and Seaborn DNA to assist the hunters in more closely monitoring their Seaborn genes. If the Seaborn genes exhibited abnormal dominance, the junction would signal the body to resist their attempt at taking over. While there has undoubtedly been some degree of decay of their auto-adaptive junctions after 5 years without maintenance, the chances they've undergone remain well within acceptable ranges.
So you say, advisor, but there is a record of a failed auto-adaptive junction surgery in the Abyssal Hunter lab archives.
That was Ulpianus. The archives should also note that multiple clinical trials have demonstrated that the incident did not produce any adverse effects. For this, I gladly take full responsibility and will answer any queries. Now that the Abyssal Hunters have returned to Aegir, their condition will be under control.
Am I to infer that you already have an effective means to contain their mutation?
There is an Abyssal Hunter lab in the city we can reactivate. I will personally perform maintenance on their auto-adaptive junctions.
What of Ulpianus? How can we be sure that the hunter who has refused to return to Aegir will not become Seaborn? Or that what we fear hasn't already happened?
Sounds like you've just become the target.
It's only natural they would be skeptical. It is both human nature and a hard-learned lesson to be wary of what you cannot control.
They're not the only ones suspicious of you. I'm equally curious about your motivations. Did you really come out of concern for the hunters?
Before the sinking of the Stultifera, I shared my discovery with Gladiia. There is more than one entity like Isharmla amongst the Seaborn, those known as Firstborn. The Firstborn are stirring. It, or rather they, are about to awaken. I don't know how many or how soon, but it's close. Too close. This is why the Seaborn have begun migrating towards land. I've ventured into many nests recently, and as a whole, they are feeling a sense of crisis. Perhaps not even the ocean contains enough nourishment for the awakening of a new god. Will it become another profound silence for the land, or another calamity for the seas? The Great Migration almost perfectly coincides with Aegir's Waterway program. One can only speculate about Milliarium's role in all this. Is that not reason enough for me to visit this city?
The Seaborn have proliferated independently, driven by their instincts, but they came from the Firstborn, and cannot defy their fundamental nature. In other words, even if the death of the Firstborn failed to halt their evolution, it should not have caused the rapid emergence of new, previously undocumented traits.
I believe I already addressed that in my report.
Yes, the multiple Firstborn hypothesis. A logical enough explanation, but that is exactly why I'm skeptical of Ulpianus. Our well-laid plans ended in failure. The 3 surviving hunters washed ashore on unfamiliar land before being reunited with the hunter who was last to leave the nest. The information Ulpianus brought, that there are more than one Firstborn in the ocean, is more than shocking. It's highly effective. Effective in explaining why the Seaborn's actions have become more disruptive despite your success with the mission objective. Effective in addressing all our questions.
And why does that make you skeptical?
Because it's an answer so perfect that it's either the incontrovertible truth or was designed specifically to put our questions to rest. Whether or not to believe the information he gave you will have an enormous impact on our warfare design. If Ulpianus lives, then the most effective way to verify his claims would be to track him down, perhaps even question him directly.
You have been quiet, Advisor Blandus. Do you have anything to add regarding Ulpianus? You were once students under the same mentor, and it was your trust in him that led you to join the Abyssal Hunter project despite your reservations. But I also trust your knowledge and ethics as an Aegir. You need not recuse yourself.
All I can say, Madam Consul, is that I can be accountable for every word I say here at this tribunal. I will not intentionally put forward a hypothesis in his favor, nor will I make any conjectures that could hurt him. That is all.
Sounds like you two are pretty close. Ulpianus does not answer. The questioning continues, but Blandus says no more. Suddenly he looks up towards you, as though he sensed something. You meet his very gaze across the length of the Sophon Theatrum. He seems to have noticed something. The councils next to him and several other Aegir catch that peculiar moment, and some of them follow his gaze. You look to your side and find the seat empty. Don't mind me, just a landlubber here to watch. Sorry, am I interrupting? Do I need to speak?
The Tribunal has arrived at an adequate conclusion. Gladiia, Skadi, Laurentina, and the rest of the Abyssal Hunters have made tremendous sacrifices and contributions to Aegir. It is a blessing for Aegir that new ideas continue to emerge from their knowledge and experience even after 5 years. They have demonstrated that they are both innocent and safe, and that their return at this stage of the Waterway program is not a threat, but a reassurance. Yet now our attention turns to another of the surviving hunters, Ulpianus. He has concealed his movements for reasons unknown, and has attempted to influence the other hunters. Both actions clearly contravene his duty. Based on our present information, we are unable to determine his motives, goals, or, even better, he still qualifies as Aegir. Ulpianus must be found. It is, if his intentions are indeed benign, as Gladiia claims, our suspicions must be cleared through proper questioning. Those whose questions have been answered may now leave. Those whose questions have not may continue their inquiries. Do you have anything to add, Consul Gladiia?
The coral-shaped terminal at the center of the Southern Theatrum slowly closes and sinks into the ground. The space is now flat and empty, like a stage ready for a new play. Gladiia stands alone on it.
I have told you all I know. I have no objections to the Tribunal's conclusion, nor to the suspicion cast upon Ulpianus.
People begin to file out, many turning to nod towards Gladiia as they reach the exit. The remaining audience continue to ask questions, and Gladiia responds to each one, whether she is able to answer or not. The water caustics cast by the dome wave a picture of light and shadow, with the ring of light surrounding the space, dancing on Gladia's expressionless face.
Even as an Aegir, I find this hard to understand sometimes. They fling words at her like spears one moment, then thank her for her contributions the next. They're sincere, you know. Science requires people to separate facts from feelings, and they're good at it. I know, I'm just... Never mind. As for Captain Ulpianus, all they have are suspicions. Swordfish, the doctor, Kal'tsit. Someone will think of a way. What next? We wait for Swordfish, which, unfortunately, will take a while. You're sighing too? She used to visit the Southern Theatrum to watch plays whenever there wasn't a mission. Sometimes I went with her. Captain Gladiia. She's fairly well versed in the arts. Her mother's influence, supposedly. Unlike everyone else, however, she liked the heights, furthest seats, so I would always end up having to sit apart from her. Why? For her, keeping the distance helps filter out the noise. Ignoring some of the finer details makes it easier for her to fully immerse herself in the story. Right now, though, she is the one at center stage. She's lost her accustomed sense of distance, becoming the subject of judgment, scrutiny, and discussion. No one in her position can remain unperturbed. I'm starting to get why I sighed. Why? Because only now does it really feel like we're back.
Alright then, they like debating a lot. Damn, they like debating a lot. But can I also say, addressing the beginning scene, how freaking adorable it is that apparently every single one of these fish people, the moment they meet Irene and interact a tiny bit with her, are immediately smitten, and it's very cute. It's very, very, very cute. I cannot stress that enough. Like, these two at the beginning are pretty much the same person, just one is a bird, one is a fish. And they are immediately bonding. They are on the same wavelength. I love it. I don't know how much more they're gonna go into this new friendship building up between these two, but I want to see more because that was very adorable. The other thing is, well, not really worth mentioning too much, but the debate was very interesting how they are going about it. It's pretty much like the whole Greek debating stuff. They really are doing the same shtick here, where they are literally, doesn't matter how bad or good a person is that is in the center of the discussion there. It's literally just deconstruct everything they're saying, see what is worth out of it, and if that person is actually a threat to you or not, or whatever. Another thing I will point out is during the whole conversation between the Doc and Ulpianus, there are a couple of moments where you can choose different texts. Doesn't matter in most of them, especially for the one where it might seem like it matters a lot and you would expect a lot of different answers, which is the why don't you go to Skadi, to Specter, or to Gladiia? And they pretty much all come to the same conclusion with not the time. Or in Skadi's case and in Specter's case, he says both the same thing, which is it's not her forte. The only thing for Specter's reaction is he looks at you and is like, do you mean Laurentina? It is not her forte. And then continues. It's the same shtick. But a neat little thing that it's slightly different between all of the three options depending on what you choose. But yeah, very interesting. Wonder where this is gonna go. So first off, also very interesting that the Abyssal Hunters had like a essentially like a gene spliced into them that is like it was described in the gene sequence is in between the Seaborn cell and like in the DNA string, essentially in between the portion of the Seaborn stuff and the human stuff, and is keeping it in check essentially, and also slowing the takeover down to such a degree that they would die of old age before they actually turn if that whole thing keeps being maintained, apparently. Now, I wonder how much truth there is to that. Like, I don't believe these guys are lying when they're debating all of that stuff, but I do wonder how much truth there is to that stuff, because if that is the case, then our Abyssal Hunters are fine. They are pretty much, for the rest of their lives, outside of probably growing a couple of, you know, maybe fishy little bits around their bodies, they're probably never gonna fully turn into Seaborn, which is a good thing. But as we already know, even people who fully do get taken over by the Seaborn cells can still maintain their human form. Like, again, look at Mizuki, he is still a normal person even after that. Highmore is another example of someone who went full Seaborn, but transformed back into a human form with essentially extra little appendages on her body and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't really work for everybody. Most people will just become abominations, while certain people who are probably a bit nuts in a certain aspect will kind of maintain their sanity. But yeah, before I leave you guys off, one quick thing. We do have one new enemy here, which is the Exocellular Depositor, a simple seaborn that accumulates a large amount of chitin to form an excretion carapace. Nice. Dies and leaves a platform, basically. But yeah, this is it for this part. Next time we will continue this and see how far we get. For the rest of the video, enjoy the clip section, even though I don't think I will have many clips for this one. There will be at least 1 or 2, potentially, maybe 3 short clips. But yeah, enjoy those, like the first time reactions to certain moments in the story. And yeah, enjoy. I hope you did enjoy this part. And if you did, leave a like. It would help me out a lot and mean a lot. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot more on the channel than just this. I did give a rundown earlier at the beginning of the episode. Pretty much the entire game is on the channel just to listen and peruse through. And yeah, if you want to support me even more directly, you can do so through memberships on the channel. And like always, no video will be behind a membership. It is purely there to support me and my work. But yeah, for now, guys, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye. Wow! Wow! Wow, this drip! Wow! It looks so good and clean now! What the fuck? Wow! That looks amazing. Oh, Jordi, you're back. You're back, and it looks snazzy as fuck. He freezes on the spot. What are you seeing? Holy shit! What the hell am I looking at? Whoa! Whoa! Well, this is huge. What is this fleet? Oh God! Hi. Hi. Oh shit! We were starting early with you. Rocinante. Okay. Oh, never mind. Oh, wait. Is he stepping into contact with the last knight? Actually, yeah, he should. He should, because the two of them were dancing tango on the ship, basically. With their weapons.
This is the deepest part of the trench. They hollowed out its sides to make their nest. That's why we never noticed it before, despite circling this place several times.
Are you riding Rocinante right now?
Yes, I smell it too. This scent, after destroying the ocean's native ecosystem, the Seaborn have created a new one that serves only them. A comprehensive Seaborn ecosystem, where once it only existed in an oceanic abyss. Return, Rocinante. I will carry on alone.
Rocinante sways its neck in annoyance.
The entire continental shelf has changed. I must know who churned these waves. Tell the knights to continue the hunt. We will not be parted for long.
Are you two best... Oh. Are you two best buds? Weirdly enough.
Hydrogen from seawater can be used to maintain operation of the Legion fleet.
Oh, hydrogen, huh? Wait, are you guys employing fusion? Actually, why is that surprising me?
Seeing the Preserver has inevitably...
Oh shit, this actually puts a timeline into this shit. So this current part is taking place after the Colombian shit. Ooh. Actually, that makes sense. While the vast majority of IS-3's stories, outside of the first story, is just what-if scenarios of a what-if timeline of the world, if everything goes to shit with the Seaborn, there are minute little pieces that are still part of, like, the actual timeline. For example, Mizuki's monthly record that was added. One of the 3 stories in there, the third one specifically, if I remember correctly, is a story that literally is taking place in reality because in the current timeline, because it's describing the tear in the sky opening in the barrier, aka what happens in Lone Trail, and a certain reaction from the Seaborn, which, okay, this makes now more sense as well, because they started, like, or rather, Skadi started talking about some feelings about the sea and the stars and stuff like that, which, yeah, means that the Seaborn collectively are reacting to the opening tear in the sky. They are prepping for something now. Again, as indicated by the little short story with Mizuki, where he was observing two little Seaborns, and they noticed the tear in the sky open, and they then just suddenly dislodged from the cliff that they were literally petrified against, and just disappeared into the ocean, carrying a message of, hey, they did it. It's open. Time to do shit.
Yes, but be careful. I would prefer not to have to change our objective in the middle of negotiations with the Council. Dr. Kal'tsit sure uses a lot of big words.
Also, that expression for that sentence.
Dr. Kal'tsit uses a lot of big words, doesn't she?
Wow, we're riffing on Kal'tsit. This is great.
Does she ever get straight to the point? Oh dear Dr. Kal'tsit. Our dear Dr. Kal'tsit thinks too much about too many things, and not nearly enough about how to convey that she cares.
Oh, that is Kal'tsit to the point.
Wouldn't you agree that more direct Aegir style communication is better, Doctor?
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Really? And you're gonna give me like a fucking goddamn 50-50 split? I can either agree with them or be like, of course I'm gonna agree with them. Just wanna Kal'tsit to come back and be like, the fuck did you just say to me?
Absolutely. Don't worry, Shark and I will protect you.
It's like you just heard what I said.